Hi, everyone. It is Pastor Matt here with our weekly devotional. I want to read for us from the book of Matthew, chapter 16, verses 13 to 20. It says this. Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" They said, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I will tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Then secretly, he charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. What I want to talk about just very briefly in the short time that we have together is the notion that faith is a gift. On Sunday, the message was about the wrath of God, a very heavy message. And we talked about how a lot of people have this notion in their minds that there's a ton of wrath in the Old Testament and little to no wrath in the New. And even many Christians today, in America especially, tend to downplay or minimize the notion of the wrath of God. But in fact, it's very, very present in our scriptures. I said on Sunday that our symbol, one of the primary signs of being a Christian is the cross. And the cross is a symbol of both, yes, love, but also wrath all at once, as Jesus takes on the wrath of God into himself as a substitute for us, the wrath that we deserve. He takes it, that symbol of death, Roman crucifixion. That is the wrath of God on Jesus for our freedom and deliverance. So wrath is very present in the New Testament. And we talked also about how some of the strongest language about wrath in the New Testament is against false teachers because they suppress the truth. We talked about this out of Romans chapter 1, how they prevent the truth about God from being seen or understood or known in the world, thereby preventing people from being free from the power of sin in their lives. God does not like that. God has worked and he has strived and he has set forth this mission in the world by sending his son and subsequently the Holy Spirit so to free us from the power, the bondage of sin. And when false teachers come along and teach something that's different than the truth, individuals, they stay enslaved to sin, and that hurts God's heart. And so there's wrath stored up for those who teach false things and prevent people from being free from the power of sin and the guilt of sin. But also, we said from there that the second group that the wrath of God is most intensely concentrated on are those who don't care for people who are in the greatest need. And he talks about those who are in prison. He talks about the sick, the poor. He talks about the naked, the hungry, orphans, and widows. In Matthew 25, Jesus pronounces judgment against those who fail to take care of those individuals. And we said as well from the Romans passage that we have to be really careful when we pronounce judgment against other people as Christians because we too are subject to judgment, especially when we fail to fulfill the mission of God in caring for those who are in most need in the world. What I want to talk about now out of this passage about Peter's confession in Matthew is that another thing that we have to keep in mind that can help us to maintain humility. And C.S. Lewis believes that one of the single greatest markers of Christian maturity is humility. So humility is really important. The closer we grow to God, the more humble we'll be. And we have to remember that those of us have been rescued from the wrath of God, Christians, because of our faith in Jesus, that we have faith as a gift. It's not something that we've earned. It's something that God has gifted to us. We haven't earned the status of being a Christian. We haven't earned the status of being declared innocent. It's not something that he's given to us as a result of our good behavior. Rather, we are Christians, we're believers because of faith. We see this in this passage where Jesus specifically says, after Simon Peter confesses that Jesus is the Christ, he says, "Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." Because of the sin condition within our human hearts, it is impossible for us to believe upon Jesus, that is, trust in the lordship of Jesus, to be subordinate to his command, to be accepting of his forgiveness and of his love. It's just for a fallen human being who is filled with arrogance and pride and the wrath of God, it is simply impossible for us to muster up that sort of confidence and trust in God. We want to trust in ourselves. Martin Luther famously said that the human heart is an idol factory, meaning we put our trust in things like money and things like power and material possessions, and Jesus teaches us that, of course, and we know this, none of those things save. None of those things fill the God-shaped hole in our hearts. Ultimately, we'll be still left hungry and starving for the presence of God restored in our lives because God's created us with that need. So to maintain our spiritual humility, to avoid any sense of self-righteousness or spiritual pride or arrogance, we must always remember that our faith is a gift. It's something God gives us that we have not earned. It's impossible for us to trust upon Jesus for salvation. But by the grace of God and by the power of God, he gives us this gift of faith. How is it that we can confess Jesus is the Son of God? How is it that we can have the clarity, the vision to see Jesus for who he is and to actually put our trust in him? It's by the help of the Holy Spirit. It's almost as if it's not even our faith. It's the Holy Spirit's faith, if you would, the Holy Spirit who deposits that faith in our hearts. How can we believe in the resurrection of Christ? And how can we believe that Jesus is fully God and fully man? And how are we able to swim against the currents of the secular world? How are we able to step out on faith and fight against the powers of darkness in this world when it's so against our fallen sinful condition? It's by the help of the Holy Spirit, the empowerment of the Holy Spirit. It wasn't until after Peter received the Holy Spirit at Pentecost that he was able to proclaim boldly the lordship of Jesus Christ. It's not our faith, it's his faith that he's given to us. Jesus had perfect faith, and he shares that perfect faith with us. Just like Jesus had love for his enemies, we can't do that. Jesus shares his love for his and our enemies with us. Just like he shares his righteousness with us, he shares his love and he shares his faith. We're not saved because of something we've earned. We're saved because God gave us this gift of faith. God the Father has revealed this to you. It's not flesh and blood that has revealed this to you. So all that to say, let's stay humble. Let's remember that our faith is a gift. One final comment I want to share. I know on Sunday I talked a lot about the need for taking care of orphans in our community and society, and I want to be sure to be clear that the case of foster kids needing homes is just a for instance representing the whole category of those who are in need. Not everybody's called to be a foster parent. Some people are, some people aren't, but all of us as Christians are called to some form of ministry to those who are in the greatest need, whether that's to orphans in this case, that could be to visiting the prisoners in prison. It could be to visiting those who are sick in their homes or in a hospital. It could be to having widows over your home for dinner once a week and being love and support and kindness in their lives. I believe that every one of us as Christians have a call and a passion on our lives. Jesus shares that burden with us to minister to those who are in greatest need. We're at a phase in the life of the church where we're going to grow. I have no doubt about that. But I don't want to grow because they want to come and hear good music. I mean, that's good. That's a good reason, and it's a valid reason. But that's not the main reason I want people to join our community. I don't want to grow because people just want to come and hear good Bible teaching. That's a good reason. I hope people come for that reason. But the main thing that I hope makes us grow is that we are meeting the needs of the people in our community. And they want to be a part of a community like that they find cold, refreshing water at the wellspring of this church, and that they find hot water of healing at the wellspring of this church. Oh, wouldn't it be a beautiful thing if we were able to grow as a church because people were finding healing, refreshment, comfort, and freedom from sin because we're pushing back the kingdom of darkness as we minister to a fallen and hurting world. That's the kind of growth that is at the center of my heart and passion. And I hope I can share that with you all. I hope you have a great remainder of the week. I love you all. You all do such a great job already of ministering to those in need. Let's keep it up. Let's always be more to the glory of God. See you next time.